Hi, welcome to today's Courageous Question. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Today's question comes from Morgan, and Morgan shared with me her difficulty in finding a therapist that she felt was a good fit for her, and feeling really confused and a little overwhelmed by the process of knowing who to choose and what type of therapy to choose. So her question really comes down to, how do I know what type of therapy I should have? So I want to first say that my answer to this question is obviously based on my opinion. And my opinion is formed from the about 18 years that I have as a clinician, as a therapist working with survivors of abuse. Am I an expert? I have difficulty throwing that word around, but I have quite a bit of experience working with survivors, and specifically. So when it comes to my answer to this question, I'm speaking specifically around survivors of childhood abuse. So I want you to just keep that in mind. So the reality is that there is not one particular method or modality that will heal your childhood sexual abuse. There isn't. There are some different types of therapy, some different modes or methods that people use that can be really helpful. They're a piece of the puzzle of healing. And one that most of you have probably heard of is EMDR. And EMDR is really popular. It's had a lot of research behind it. And it is, they say, really effective for trauma. What I have found in my work, I've worked with a lot of people who have done EMDR. I've also supervised somebody who did not have a history of childhood trauma, but did experience a traumatic event as an adult, not sexual assault, who might have thought that it helped, might have said that it was really helpful. Some said it really wasn't helpful. Some said it made it worse. But found that they still continued to struggle and didn't understand why. Well, again, EMDR, somatic experiencing, or SE, trauma resolution therapy, hypnosis, meditation even, and I use meditation all the time in my work. All of these different things, cognitive behavioral therapy, relational therapy, they're all pieces of the puzzle. So there's no one thing that is going to heal your trauma. Healing from childhood abuse, especially sexual abuse, is a complicated and complex process. It's about bringing all of these different tools that you might experience or things that you learn into your life and incorporating it into your life and working at healing the body. So somatic experiencing can be really, really great. It's a great piece of healing. And it is important for us to be able to connect to our bodies and release that traumatic energy that might still be stored there. But doing that in and of itself isn't going to change the meaning that you've attached to the abuse, which is where the real long-term impact in terms of self-worth and depression and anxiety and relationship struggles and addiction, and that doesn't just live in our body, that lives in our mind. Cognitive behavioral therapy in and of itself isn't going to heal your trauma all by itself. We need some of these other things. We need relationship. We need to release the trauma through our body. We need to connect to our body. So there's a lot of great tools out there, and most therapists don't come up with their own method, at least not unless they've been in the field for a very long time and had a lot of practice and experience. But I know that there's a lot of people, especially over these last couple of years, with all the talk about sexual assault and then with the Me Too movement and all of that, a lot of people who are not necessarily therapists coming up with all these trauma healing methods. And they say, I can heal your trauma, or I can give you 5 quick, easy steps to heal your trauma. Heal your shame in 30 days or something like that. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Healing interpersonal childhood trauma has a profound effect on us, on our mind, our body, and our soul. And I wish that there was a quick fix. I wish that there were 5 steps that you could take, learn those, implement them, and heal. I wish that that were the case, but it's not. Healing takes time, and it takes multiple avenues of healing. It's really a very complex process, which is why it takes so long. So when you're searching for somebody, when you're trying to figure out what type of therapy do I want, I'm going to go back to the thing that I typically say to people. I think the most significant thing, in addition to how you feel with that person, the relationship that you can develop, feeling safe and all of that, that's absolutely necessary. But as you're searching for that person, one of the biggest things that I really do believe is important is working with a therapist who really has a lot of experience and understanding of what it means to be a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Again, not just a trauma specialist, because not all trauma is created equal. Even being sexually assaulted as an adult, if you don't have any history of childhood trauma, being sexually assaulted as an adult is different. Yes, you're impacted significantly. I'm not trying to minimize that, but the healing process is different when you have a history of abuse, particularly if it was somebody that you trusted and loved. Healing from childhood trauma is very different than a veteran of war coming home and needing treatment. Those are very different types of trauma to experience, because you have to remember that healing from childhood abuse, sexual abuse, isn't about the individual incidents, the experiences that you had. It's not about the time that that person came into your bedroom and did something to you. Yes, of course, that's a piece of it. But ultimately, healing is about, what did that mean to you? How did your system respond to that? Did you shut down? Did you go into overdrive? What did you tell yourself about that experience? And it's not just about replacing limiting beliefs. It's about understanding what that core wound is, understanding how that core wound shows up in your life over time, and then doing the work of basically deprogramming that core wounding so that you can begin to see yourself and your life through a different lens, an accurate lens. But this isn't something that just happens with a few sessions of EMDR or somatic experiencing or a hypnosis session or an energy healing session. I am an energy healer. I am a master Reiki practitioner, but that's not going to heal somebody from their childhood trauma by itself. Can it help? Sure. And I've gotten feedback that it has, that there's something that feels like it shifted a little bit. And I'm grateful for all these different ways that we can help heal. So, coming back to the original question, because this is something that I feel really passionate about, because I know that there's so many people who don't really even understand what all the different modalities are, like all the different types of therapy, all the different methods that people use in their trauma treatment. And I know that there are so many people that I have worked with who have been to other therapists or other healers or healing practitioners and think that they've learned everything that they need to learn, or that they've done everything that they need to do, and so they should be healed. And maybe they even do really well for a while. Maybe they feel like, yes, I've got this. I feel so much better. And that can happen because you feel empowered, because you feel heard, because you feel hopeful. And inevitably, you find yourself struggling again. You don't struggle again because you didn't get it, or because you're not strong enough, or because you're too damaged and it's hopeless. It's not it at all. It's that you didn't give yourself the time and the space to do the really deep work that needs to be done when it comes to healing from childhood abuse. So do some research, look up different modalities, see what you think about it. How does it feel to you? Does it feel like, oh yeah, I want to do that, I want to try it? Then try it. Just make sure that you're getting a practitioner that is very skilled at what they're doing. But don't expect that any one or even a couple of specific modalities are going to heal you. I really do wish that that were possible, but it's not. And I want to be clear too and say that all of these pieces can play a really significant role. So I'm not trying to discount different ways that people work. I want to make that clear because there can be some benefit in lots of different things. I will say with EMDR, from my experience, so it's completely anecdotal, what I've heard my clients talk about and this person that I supervise, it doesn't seem to be particularly beneficial for healing the long-term impact of childhood sexual abuse. And when it was developed, it was really meant for like a recent trauma that somebody's experienced, which makes a little bit more sense that it could be effective in that way. So all these different things can be helpful. Affirmations. I showed a video not too long ago about affirmations. Affirmations are a good tool if you use them correctly and are doing the other work that's necessary. Journaling is a great tool, but it's not going to heal you on its own. Gratitude, great tool, but it's not going to heal you on your own. Same with EMDR, somatic experiencing, trauma resolution, rapid release. There's all these different things. They can provide help. They can help you along on this journey. But they're a part of the journey. And the reason I keep going on about this. The reason I want this to be reinforced is I know how easy it is to give up. I know for so many of you, you've tried this therapist or that therapist or this coach or that coach. You've tried this modality. You've been to this treatment center. You've done so many different things. You've tried this medication or that medication, and you find that you still struggle. And I want you to know it's because we need to bring it all together. That's why you continue to struggle. Because not one, and not even just two of those things can actually heal you. It's the combination of all the work that you do, all the little pieces, the risks that you take, the healthy risks that you take in terms of connection and vulnerability, the talking about your struggles, the meditation, the journaling, the gratitude, all of it, the body work. And body work can look a lot of different ways too. Yoga, just plain and simple yoga, is a great way to connect with your body and do that healing. But none of them work on their own. And so when you think about what you've already done, or if you're thinking about starting your journey, just keep that in mind. And I think I might have lost my train of thought a few moments ago. In addition to the relationship being important, the other thing that I think is really important is working with somebody who has experienced a lot of it, as much as possible. Working with survivors of childhood abuse specifically. Again, not just regular trauma or any trauma, but childhood abuse, because it is different. And I do know that I talked about that a little while ago. So somebody who has experience working with childhood trauma, that's the thing that I would encourage people to look for the most, which is also why I do recommend so often as a first step is to contact your local rape crisis center. Those people don't necessarily always have a ton of experience being a therapist, but they have a lot of very specific training around sexual abuse and assault. So even if they don't necessarily have 10 years or more of therapy, they're doing the work because they're interested in that work, because there's no money in rape crisis work. So they're there because they're passionate about the work that they're doing. And the training that they get isn't just from their education. The training is also part of that center's philosophy. It's what they do. They do a lot of training around survivors of childhood abuse, the impact and the healing. So it really is a great resource. You don't have to be at a certain income level. They typically work with people who are millionaires, and they work with people who are homeless. So it's not about money or your needs in terms of financial help. It's about often being the best possible resource for making sure that you're getting what you need. And I have to say that, of course, I can't speak for every rape crisis center in the world. Some are going to be better than others. But I think, generally speaking, it's a great place to start. So I know that ended up being kind of a lot of information, and I ended up kind of going off a couple of different times, but this is something that has been really kind of weighing on me a little bit, to be completely honest with you, in terms of just the messages that are out there about healing. And again, this is my opinion. You could talk to somebody else who has a lot of experience in working with survivors of abuse specifically, and they may have a different opinion about that. And that's okay, because we all come at it from a different perspective. And I'm certainly not going to suggest that I'm right and somebody else is wrong, or the other way around. But it is my opinion, and I want what's best for you. I want you to get the help that you deserve. And I know that many of you have felt like giving up at times because the help that you've gotten wasn't really so helpful. And sometimes it's not necessarily because that practitioner did something wrong necessarily or anything like that. It's just not what you needed. And I know how devastating that can be. And I just want you to get the help that you deserve and that you need on this journey. So thank you for watching. Morgan, I hope that that answers your question. If not, please let me know. If anybody else has any questions, please share in the comments below, and I will be sure to respond. I also wanted to share with you that some of you may already know, but I am going to be opening up a brand new group online program on Friday, actually. My first time doing an actual course for survivors of abuse, and we'll be starting in May. So if that's something that you're interested in, I will share the link in the description and you can check that out. But I would love to connect with you there. I will be doing live group sessions for the 6 weeks that we'll be meeting together. So if you've considered working with me, but just don't want to commit to 6 months, maybe you just aren't able to work with me for financial reasons individually, this might be a great opportunity for us to be able to work together. So the link for that is in the comments. I will look forward to seeing you next time. Have a beautiful day.